see you. Your eyes. Your hands. Your chips. Everything. So I don't need to see your cards. We play at fulltailpoker.com.
This is Diego Cordovez.
Adam Schoenfeld.
We have a new star of the tournament circuit, and his name is Barry Shulman.
Amazing.
Barry had some poker accomplishments in the pre-television era. There's some old black and white film footage of it, but he won a bracelet.
Barry called me. He said he was upset that he's being overshadowed by Jeff. This is his answer.
Yeah, and his answer to the fact that he won a bracelet back in 2001. He won what was then very prestigious, the main event at the Four Queens.
Right.
Beat Alan Cunningham. But he doesn't play a lot of tournaments. I don't know. He has some other business that I've heard. I'm not sure what it is. And but he just went to World Series of Poker Europe, which is a big deal, and he won it. Beat Daniel Negreanu heads up. He's going to talk to us about it. So you won a bracelet back in 2001. You won the Four Queens main event against Alan Cunningham back when that was the equivalent of a WPT. It was a really prestigious tournament. But in the big events, like in the main events of the World Series, you often had early exits, and it seemed like you weren't always at the highest level of patience and concentration. Following you in the WSOP E, it seemed like you were ultra patient, calm, and you ended up essentially out small balling the master of the small ball, Daniel. So
what the hell happened?
What's happened? I was going to say, has there been an evolution in your playing style, in your demeanor, in yourself, or as Adam puts it, what's happened?
There's been an evolution in my life, maybe even a revolution. I've always felt that's the proper way to play, and when I'm on my game, that's how I've played. But as you know, I'm a little bit older than most of you out there who play. Well, Adam's not that much younger, but than most of you folks.
You're old enough to be my older brother, Barry.
Yes, I'm old enough to be your older brother. And the truth is, for years, I've been getting fatigued. I've had many, many tournaments where I get off to a very good start because I play well, and I get fatigued. And it's not that I lose my concentration as much as I look and it's 10 at night and I can't imagine playing until 2 in the morning. Mm-hmm. And I have this thing, I get edgy. I got to either double up or get out of there, and that right. I hate that. But the facts are, I've been on a very, very rigorous exercise and diet campaign, and it's made a tremendous amount of difference in my life. And I did it not for poker. I did it to feel better and to be more healthy.
Live a long time.
And yeah. And to feel good when I'm living.
Right.
And it's really working. I feel much, much better now, and it made such a difference in the tournament.
Because this was a marathon, and you were the older gentleman there. I mean, there were a lot of young players. And but at the end, just from the video that I saw, besides the play, you were still steady. You looked like you could keep playing for a while. It didn't seem like it really.
No, I was right there.
Daniel actually looked like he was beat.
Concurrent reports said that Daniel had been rattled by the length or the fact that he had to do a commercial the next day, which is not the best mindset for one of these. And you, by all the reports, were super steady. And these are not card player reports. These super
These
steady.
are competitive reports.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I didn't have to win because I felt good physically, but I did not lose my concentration at all. And it wasn't just a 17-hour day. It was 5 days straight.
And the heads up lasted.
And the heads up was 5 hours or 3 hours, depending on who you listen to.
And now this field was...
And we played a lot of hands, by the way, because Daniel and I both play relatively quickly.
Oh, that was another thing. That the reports were that the pace was so frenetic that they could barely even keep up with the reporting.
Yes.
And you guys were playing as if it was online, clicking buttons. And did that suit you?
Well, I must say that although we played a lot of hands, it was very measured. The whole final table, and including when we were heads up, the plays were very, very measured. It's not like we were just throwing chips in the pot.
No, I didn't mean to suggest that.
We just didn't. We weren't wasting time. If we knew we were going to fold, we folded. We didn't do any histrionics.
The field was very tough. Did you note that from day one? Did you find it tough?
The field was. I never had an easy table, but I looked around and I never saw an easy table. And day after day, people kept reporting on that. It was also quite a young group. Gee, when we bagged up with 2 days to go, I was the only one at the table over who wasn't in his 20s, over 30 years old.
And you're the only one over 80 as well?
Yeah, except for Doyle.
I mean that's the thing. I didn't really realize, so I started following the tournament because you were doing well. But we're so used to these gigantic fields here with a lot of internet qualifiers and satellite qualifiers. But this is a different deal. And I realized the final table, 9 people were there, 6 were bracelet holders, and there were 2 November 9 guys who were not bracelet holders. So 8 of the 9 had pretty strong accomplishments coming in, and it was about 400 people in the field. So you get a lot, as some people say, a lot more of the white meat, the class.
Well, there were. It would have been very difficult for a random player to make the final table. Not that I'm pumping myself up, but it was a very tough field. It was a very good it was a deep stack tournament with hours and hours of playing, and some of the luck that we normally have in poker just wasn't there. One of the pieces of luck is early on drawing good tables, meaning you have players who can't play who are going to dump off chips, and somebody's going to get a lot of chips. We didn't have that. We also didn't have the flip side of once in a while you get in with the best of it, somebody calls you when they have a 5% chance of winning, and then they suck out, and they knock out a lot of good players early. It was just steady poker for the whole week.
I mean, besides the composition of the field and the size of the field, were there other things that are just like radically different in Europe from here, even though it's a World Series tournament under the auspices of Harris, but anything that like made it different from all the preliminary events or World Series events we played?
Well, it was in a casino, and it was kind of jammed in as an afterthought. That was one thing that I didn't like. Mm-hmm. And so we couldn't tell how many tables were there. The first day I couldn't even see a clock. And they did a fabulous job of reporting. They had 2 TV tables and wandering cameras, so there was a lot of lights, and it was very hot the whole time. And we'd be like stuck over here in a corner and not know what was going over there. And it forced people, at least it forced me, just to pay attention to my table and not even worry about any other tables, which is what I like to do anyway when I'm playing.
I know in London, in the cash games, there is talking is discouraged. Was that the case in the tournament as well, or was there the normal table talk that we'd see at the World Series of Poker here?
There was a normal table talk, and I'm not a particularly big fan of that because of the inconsistency of what the rules are. I mean, some guys are talking, nobody was getting penalties, but I thought it was against the rules, so I wasn't talking, trying to pick up tells. And I don't care which way it is. It's one of the few complaints I have. I didn't see a lot of bad decisions, quite the contrary. I saw very good decisions, and I saw consistent decisions, but there was an awkwardness about knowing whether we were allowed to talk or not during the hands.
That uncertainty bothered you.
Yeah, and I don't care which way it goes.
Right, as long as you know.
I would like everybody to play by the same rules.
Daniel's known for being quite loquacious. Were you guys talking during the heads up at all? It didn't seem like you were.
A little bit. He likes to talk to his fans.
Right.
I like to play poker.
Okay.
I was there on a mission.
But that also can be a sign of respect in that when you see him on the broadcasts, a lot of times people just tell him what hands they have. I mean, he talks to
he'll exploit
less
people for
experienced
information.
players, and he's like, "Do you have this?" And he gets a lot of reads that way. He might have figured that that just wasn't going to work with you.
No.
Or maybe he tried that and it didn't work.
It didn't work at the whole final table, and he knew that. He wasn't trying to do the Daniel stuff. I mean, Daniel is one of the great readers of people.
It's amazing.
And it's insane to talk to him if you're in a hand with him.
He's a great reader to begin with, and then once people start talking to him, it's almost like it's over.
I didn't say
it's ridiculous.
I just sat there. I never said a word the whole tournament, basically.
I mean, we talked about your evolution and obviously being in good shape and having a good mindset is a big part of it. But I think back to main events, not to to bring up any unhappy memories, but there was a whole series where you were out in the first level or the first couple of levels where you came in with a big ball strategy, which can work or not work, and it didn't work. Where early on, when the blinds were still small, you're playing huge pots and getting knocked out. And here you were like in a small ball mode the entire tournament. So is that a conscious change in your game, or are the circumstances just different, or what is it? Or am I imagining that you've changed your style from more of a big ball, high pressure, aggressive style to a more small ball, finding your spots?
Well, it's somewhere in between. I've never really been as much of a big ball player as people think. What I've been is a player who's made a big mistake and knocked himself out of the tournament. Played great for 3 hours and then do something just stupid. That's why my results in limit are much better than they are no limit. Most of the time I'm a fairly good player, but I've made some just horrendous mistakes through the years.
So it wasn't consciously trying to make a big power play, just that you got it mixed up in the wrong spot.
Right. But what happened, I did go, but having said that, I've changed my play this year. And I went into this tournament when I saw the field. On day one, I said to my wife, Ellen, I said, I am not going to try to outplay these guys. These guys, they're young, they're professionals. This is what they do for a living. Mm-hmm. I run a business for a living. I happen to play poker. I think I can play with them, but I'm not going to try to outplay them. And I'm going to be the little guy that hides over in the corner and let them just knock themselves out. And I'm going to try to pick up a pot once every level or so in order to move my stack. Now, it happens that I just didn't get any cards the whole tournament. I'm not complaining. It's just, sometimes you just can't help it. The cards keep coming to you. I just didn't get cards. So it happens that over and over and over again, because I had such a tight image, if you can imagine such a thing. Right. I had a tight image, but I just wasn't playing any hands, that I'd end up buying a pot once every level or so for days. And I don't know what they're going to show on TV, but I never had any hand. I never had the best of it.
Did you have the tight image because you weren't playing hands, or
yes.
because you were the older gentleman?
No, not because everybody knew who I was. We all knew who each. One thing about this group, you knew who you were playing with. Right. But every time I showed a hand down, I had good cards. I mean, I wasn't starting king jacks. I wasn't limping with 4s or 5s. I was playing big hands. I don't mean I was playing the hands big.
Yeah.
I was playing premium hands.
I was playing premium hands, and I remembered. I want to give Mike Carroll credit for something, because I remember a tip that I read years. I think it might be in Super Systems also. Something about when you play with aggressive players, don't try to out-aggressive them. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I tried to do. I did a surprising number of check calls. I know that's not one of your favorite plays, but it sure worked well in this tournament.
Well, maybe that's why you're a champion, Diego's sitting here.
Now, talking about the last decade.
Now, speaking about champions, were you in consultation with your famous son, Jeff Shulman, during the tournament?
No. You mean for strategy reasons?
Yes.
No.
So you might have communicated with him for business reasons, but you're not consulting with him on poker.
I communicate him to congratulate him on having a baby. I had a grandchild while I was gone.
That's correct. You had your second...
there are priorities. Although I still went to London.
Right. Your priority was playing the poker.
Right. I noticed that I was at the hospital while you were in London when the baby was born.
Yes. The technology is great, though. I saw the pictures.
Yes.
But I mean, on that note, obviously doing well in tournaments is playing well and having good luck. Was Jeff making the final table, the main event, a factor in any way, either in playing these tournaments or in being more focused or in
inspiring
being inspired or affected by it?
I told him when I left town, I said, I'm going here to make the final table. I think it's good for us. It'll be fun.
And it was.
And now you put the bar on him and put the pressure on him.
Well, and as you may or may not know, I was in 4th place and average chips at going into the final table, exactly where he was.
Right.
Now, I don't know if you noted this, Barry, but you received slightly more money for your championship than Jeff has already received, and he's guaranteed. So you've now put the pressure on him, because if he happens to go out 9th, you will have made more money in the World Series of Poker than he did.
Well, actually, I did. Now that you mentioned that, I did communicate with him, and I said, I'm ahead of you for the year now. On the other hand, if he does well in the main event, it'll be hard for me to keep ahead of him for the year.
No, yes.
Since I don't play too many tournaments.
You're going to have to really work before the end of the year.
And he's not going out ninth.
Or if
You've heard it here first.
Of course.
He is not going out
Or if he
ninth.
does really well, it'll be hard to ever catch up, even in a lifetime, if he wins.
Yeah, maybe. You might say. Yes, he put pressure on me, not in the negative sense. I went in to play my best game because of that. And if anything, I think it'll help him be motivated. But not that he needs any motivation to play better. But when I told him I was ahead of him on money, he said, I don't care. Who cares?
You know, go ahead, Dave.
Well, I was going to say, now you've won this event. Does this mean now you're going to play more events or play more poker? Because people don't realize, and this applies to all of us, which is that after a while, the grind of traveling around or playing tournaments, the excitement about it starts to fade, and you start to be motivated only by big tournaments or tournaments that are nearby or whatever. Now you've won this one. Does this mean now you start to play a bunch of tournaments, or just the same big World Series tournaments?
I don't like traveling for poker. I love traveling, as you know. I'm on cruises 5 months
I was going to say
a year.
you interrupted your latest 8-month-long cruise to win a championship.
So I'm still doing a world cruise in January, and I'm doing a month cruise next summer. But I do have a couple big Bellagio tournaments between now and then. But I'm not going to play every one. I'll play in the main events. I would imagine Shulmans don't play a lot of poker. People might not know that, but Jeff and I don't play a lot.
No.
I'll probably play, instead of in 1 or 2 World Series events next year, I'll probably play in about 10 and pick up a third bracelet just because.
Right, I was going to say, now the
I might
odds
as well.
are to pick up a third or fourth. The odds are pretty
I mean,
strong.
there's been like only 100 people that have had more than 2 bracelets, so I might as well get in there.
I mean, what's your motivation for playing at this point?
Same as it's always been, ego.
Yeah.
That's right.
Competition. Although this is good. This win, I mean, can we talk money for a minute?
Please.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, it's enough that it means an $80,000 a year annuity for the rest of my life and my kids' lives.
Yeah, that's not bad either.
And
So for over 4 years, Barry can receive $80,000.
that's very funny. I mean, this money's not going back to the pros in the live game. Sorry, guys.
I love the check that you showed me. Do you have it on you?
No, I gave it to Pete to deposit.
I mean, it was a hand. I wish you had it. We should get it.
We can get
It
it.
looked like a promissory note that I would write to you for...
It was a regular little check, handwritten.
in pen.
In pen. Just, hey, Barry Shulman, here's an amount, just someone's
700,000 plus pounds.
700,000 pounds.
Make sure at the bank, by the way, that's pounds, not
It
dollars.
didn't-
Oh, I'll remember to tell him.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was teasing Daniel, by the way. I said, this is when we were both playing, when he was still in the mood to be teased. I was teasing him on one of the breaks. I said, this is interesting. The two of us are playing, and we get to keep our money. It probably isn't going to the guys on the rail that are waiting to collect their debts from us.
You weren't pieced out? You didn't have to beg for the buy-in this time, Barry?
thanks for joining us on The Scoop, brought to you by Full Tilt Poker. Barry Shulman, hot item in the news, and he's got more to talk about. We'll bring him back next week.
I was just going to do one part, but Barry owns the company. He insisted.
Write to us at thescoop@cardplayer.com.
I'm about to tell you a story. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Fact or fiction, doesn't matter. It's all how I tell it. We play at fulltiltpoker.com.